The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber hissed open as emergency alarms blared throughout the crystal spire. Ambassador Thelanara's body, made of living crystal that normally glowed with calm blue light, now flickered red with alarm. Her 6 arms moved frantically over the communication console as static filled the air. The transmission broke through the interference like a knife cutting through silk. The voice was panicked, desperate, breaking apart as the signal weakened. This is Station Commander Vextel of Kepler Research Station. We are under massive attack. Unknown HOSTILES. Wait, no, Oh, spirits preserve us, Those are human ship signatures, hundreds of them, They're not responding to our hails, They're just coming straight at us, All ships in the sector, Evacuate. Immediately, The humans are mobilizing. The Deathworlders are on the move. I repeat. The transmission died with a sharp crack of static. The council chamber, normally filled with the gentle hum of advanced technology and peaceful discussion, fell into absolute silence. 47 different alien species sat frozen. In their seats, their various forms of breathing stopped entirely. Council Director Velmuth's massive tentacles, each as thick as a tree trunk, slowly curled and uncurled as his 3 brains processed the impossible information. Communications Officer Zilpak, small bird-like creature with feathers that changed. Color based on his emotions, was now completely white with terror. His tiny claws clicked against his console as he pulled up sensor data that he wished he hadn't seen. Director Zilpak's voice came out as barely a whisper. Long-range sensors confirm. 217 vessels. All showing human energy patterns. They're moving through hyperspace at... He paused, checking his readings again, at speeds 30% faster than our fastest military ships. The chamber exploded into chaos. Ambassador Kethel, whose people looked like walking trees with bar-covered skin, began making the low groaning sound his species made when terrified. The aquatic delegation started releasing fear pheromones into their water tanks.
Ow.
Even the warrior representatives from the Iron Claw Empire, beings who had never shown fear in 300 years of council meetings, were backing toward the exits. "This cannot be happening," whispered Ambassador Felanora, her butterfly-like wings trembling. The humans were contained. They agreed to stay in their small sector of space. The Non-Aggression Pact has kept the peace for 30 standard cycles. Director Velmuth's center head focused on the tactical display now showing in the middle of the chamber. The holographic star map displayed the human fleet's projected path through space like a red line of destruction. "Cutting across peaceful systems, perhaps," he said, his voice carrying the weight of impending doom. "They've grown tired of their containment. Perhaps they have decided that the galaxy has been at peace for too long." The stories were legend throughout civilized space. Earth, the human homeworld, was classified as a Class 12 death world, a rating so high that most species couldn't even imagine what it meant. The planet was a nightmare of constant natural disasters, earthquakes that could split continents, storms with winds that could tear apart starships, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun for months, oceans filled with creatures that could swallow battle cruisers whole. And the humans had not just survived on this world, they had thrived. They had built cities on active fault lines, had tamed beasts that could crush tanks with their bare hands. They had turned their planet's deadly weather into a source of energy, where other species would have fled to the stars to escape such a world. Humans had made it their home and grown strong. Ambassador Thelanara's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy as she accessed the classified files on human capabilities. The data made her wish she hadn't looked. Human soldiers could survive in environments that would kill most aliens in minutes. Their reaction times were faster than the galaxy's best computer systems. Their military technology was designed not for conquest, but for survival against impossible odds. They call themselves the descendants of persistence hunters, she read, aloud, her voice shaking. Their ancestors hunted prey by simply following it until it collapsed from exhaustion. They never gave up. They never stopped coming. The tactical officer, a being that looked like a walking crystal formation, updated the display with new information. Director, we're receiving evacuation notices from 17 different star systems. The Merchant Guild has suspended all trade. Routes in the projected path. The Crystal Collective is moving their core worlds into dimensional hiding. Even the Machine Intelligence Network has gone silent. How long until they reach Kepler Station? Velmuth asked. 14 standard hours, sir. The chamber fell silent again as everyone realized what this meant. In less than a day, the most feared species in the galaxy would arrive at a research station filled with civilians from dozens of peaceful species. And no one knew why. Ambassador Kethel stood slowly, his bark-like skin creaking. We must assume this is the beginning of human expansion. They have decided that their small corner of space is no longer enough. The age of peace is over. The weight of those words settled over the chamber like a burial shroud. Across the galaxy, the most advanced civilizations in known space trembled. At a simple truth, the Deathworlders were coming. Nothing could stop them. Captain Hajin Kim stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace flow past the massive viewports of the UES New Sol. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as his crew worked at their stations. At 45 years old, Hajin had seen enough space combat to know when something was wrong. And right now, his communication channels were going absolutely crazy. Lieutenant Dayun Park, a young officer with sharp eyes and quick reflexes, looked up from her console with confusion written all over her face. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface as dozens of incoming messages flooded their systems. Captain, we're getting panic broadcasts from 17 different star systems, she reported, her voice filled with disbelief. The Alderaan mining colony just went dark. The Nebula research platform is screaming about immediate evacuation. Sir, they're all saying the same thing. They're running. Hajin turned slowly, his weathered face showing the calm that came from 20 years of military service. He had fought pirates in the Outer Rim, rescued colonists from natural disasters, and faced down hostile alien fleets. But this was different. This felt like the entire galaxy had gone insane. Fleeing from what, Lieutenant? He asked, though something deep in his gut already knew the answer. Dayun's face went pale as she read through more messages. From us, sir. They're fleeing from us. The entire sector's evacuating. They're calling us ... They're calling us the Deathworlder Invasion Force. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Hajin felt a cold knot form in his stomach. They weren't invaders. They were rescue ships responding to a distress call. But apparently, the rest of the galaxy didn't see it that way. 3 star systems away, in the gleaming capital city of the Zephorian Empire, Emergency Commander Fluxandra stared at his tactical display with growing horror. His people were tall, elegant beings with silver skin and forearms, known throughout the galaxy for their military prowess. But right now, even Fluxandra felt fear creeping up his spine. The holographic display showed red warning indicators spreading across space like an infection. Each red dot represented a fleeing ship, an evacuating colony, or a military force retreating at maximum speed. The pattern was clear. Everything was running away from the advancing human fleet. Sir, his aide reported, a younger Zephorian, whose silver skin had turned pale blue with stress. The Nexus trade route has been completely shut down. Every merchant ship, every cargo hauler, every passenger liner, they've all diverted to emergency. Ports, the Crystalline Collective is evacuating their 3 border worlds. Even the warrior clans of Morgoth are pulling back their fleets. Fluxandra's warrior pride burned at the thought of retreat, but he wasn't stupid. The warrior clans of Morgoth were the toughest fighters in known space, beings who considered death in battle the highest honor. If they were retreating from humans, then the situation was beyond desperate. What's the human fleet's destination? He demanded. Kepler Station, sir. But our intelligence network suggests they might continue toward the core worlds after they finish there. After they destroy everything in their path, Fluxandra finished grimly, his 4 hands clenching into fists. Back aboard the New Sol, Commander Hyan Wuli was having the strangest day of his career. The ship's senior tactical officer, he had spent years tracking enemy movements and predicting battle patterns. But the data flowing across his screens made no sense at all. "Captain," he called out, his voice filled with confusion. "I'm detecting massive fleet movements throughout the sector. Civilian transports, military vessels, even deep space mining platforms, they're all moving away from us at maximum speed. Looks like half the galaxy is running away from us." Kajin walked over to Lee's station and looked at the tactical display. Hundreds of ships were fleeing in all directions, creating a clear, empty zone around the human fleet's path through space. It looked like the galaxy was parting before them like water before a ship's bow. "Running away?" Jin raised an eyebrow, genuine surprise in his voice. "We're on a rescue mission. We received a distress call from Kepler Station. There are people in trouble who need our help." Commander Lee shook his head, pointing at the screen. "I tried telling them that, sir. According to these panic broadcasts, we're being called everything from the Deathworlder menace to the human war machine. One message I intercepted said we're coming to harvest their worlds." Lieutenant Dayun looked up from her console again, her face even paler than before. "Sir, I'm getting reports of entire planetary governments going into emergency session. The Peaceful Trade Alliance just declared a state of galactic emergency. They're telling all member species to prepare for human occupation." Heijan felt a headache building behind his eyes. This was supposed to be a simple rescue mission. 200 ships had been assembled quickly when the distress signal from Kepler Station came through. The station was a joint research facility where scientists from dozens of species worked together on peaceful projects. When they called for help, Earth Command had responded immediately. Sir Dayun continued, "I'm also getting some really strange intelligence reports. Apparently there are stories spreading about humans that make us sound like monsters. They say we eat our enemies, that we never retreat from battle, that we can survive in vacuum without suits." "Some of that is actually true," Commander Lee muttered, then caught the captain's look. "I mean, the never retreating part, sir, not the eating enemies part." The communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. Dayun's fingers flew over her controls as she opened the channel. A panicked voice filled the bridge, speaking in the common galactic language, but heavily accented with fear. "Any human vessels, this is the merchant ship Gentle Prophet. We are not hostile. We carry no weapons. We are changing course immediately. Please do not fire on us. We have families aboard. Please show mercy." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Hajin looked around at his crew, seeing his own confusion reflected in their faces. These were good people, men and women, who had dedicated their lives to protecting others. They had never thought of themselves as monsters, but apparently the rest of the galaxy saw them very differently. "Lieutenant Park," he said finally, "try to send a general broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we're not here to attack anyone. We're responding to a distress call." "Been trying, sir," Do-Yoon replied sadly. "They're not listening. Every time I try to make contact, they just run faster." The galaxy was in full panic mode, and the humans were the cause. Somewhere out there, people were in real danger at Kepler Station, and the only ones coming to help were being treated like invading monsters. It was going to be a very long day. Ambassador Rintik floated in the zero-gravity chamber of her diplomatic vessel, the Peaceful Accord. Her body was unlike anything humans had ever seen, a graceful jellyfish-like form with translucent skin that glowed with bioluminescent patterns. Right now, those patterns flickered rapidly between deep red and bright yellow, showing her extreme nervousness. Her 3 hearts, visible through her transparent flesh, were beating so fast they looked like they might burst. She had volunteered for this mission because someone had to try. The Galactic Council was in complete panic mode, and every military commander in known space was either running away or preparing for war, but Rintik believed in diplomacy. She believed that even the most dangerous species could be reasoned with. At least she hoped so, because she was about to find out if Deathworlders could be talked to without trying to kill the messenger. Her ship was small and clearly marked with the universal symbols of peace. White hole. No weapons. Broadcasting friendly intentions on all frequencies. As she approached the massive human fleet, she felt like a tiny fish swimming toward a school of sharks. The human ships were nothing like the elegant, flowing designs preferred by most galactic civilizations. They were blocky, angular, and covered in what looked like armor plating. Each vessel bristled with weapon systems and sensor arrays. Even their rescue ships looked like they were built for war. 2 Rintic SIs. They looked exactly like what she expected from a species that had crawled out of a death world. Brutal, efficient, and terrifying. This is Ambassador Rintic of the Galactic Council, requesting immediate communication with the human fleet commander, she broadcast, trying to keep her voice steady. Her translator unit converted her words into the harsh, clipped sounds of human language. The response came back so quickly it startled her. She had expected to wait, maybe to be ignored, or at worst to be threatened. Instead, a calm, professional voice filled her communication chamber. This is Admiral Minho Park of the United Earth Space Command. How can we help you, Ambassador? The politeness hit her like a physical blow. She had prepared for threats, demands, or cold military efficiency. She had not prepared for courtesy. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to confused blues and greens as she tried to process this unexpected response. Admiral, she began, then stopped to collect herself. The Galactic Council requests that you halt your advance immediately.
Oh, your
fleet movement is causing significant concern. Throughout the sector, entire civilizations are evacuating their worlds in fear of your approach. There was a brief pause, and she could hear what sounded like background conversations in the human language. When Admiral Park responded, his voice carried a note of what she could only describe as confusion. I'm afraid I can't do that, Ambassador. We received a distress signal from Kepler Station approximately 18 hours ago. Our people are in danger, and we're responding to provide assistance, your people. Rintic's confusion was evident in both her voice and the rapid color changes across her skin. Admiral Kepler Station is a multi-species research facility. According to our records, there are no humans stationed there. The facility houses researchers from 47 different species, but humans are not among them. Another pause, longer this time. When Admiral Park spoke again, his voice carried something that Rintic had never heard from a military commander before. Warmth. Ambassador, when someone calls for help, they become our people. We don't abandon those in need, regardless of what species they are. If there are beings in danger at Kepler Station, then we're going to help them. That's what we do. The transmission ended, leaving Rintic staring at her communication panel in complete bewilderment. Her 3 hearts had slowed to a more normal rhythm, but her mind was racing. Deathworlders talking about helping others. It had to be some kind of deception, some military strategy she didn't understand. Everyone knew that species from Deathworlds were violent, aggressive, and only cared about survival and conquest. But the tone of the Admiral's voice, there had been something genuine about it, something that made her want to believe him, even though everything she had been taught about humans said she should be terrified. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Yu's New Soul, Captain Haejin Kim received Admiral Park's briefing through the fleet communication network. The bridge crew gathered around the central holographic display as the Admiral's image appeared, his face serious but determined. All ship commanders, Admiral Park began. We've just had contact with the Galactic Council. It appears that our response to the Kepler Station distress call has caused a panic throughout this sector of space. Multiple civilizations are interpreting our rescue mission as an invasion force. Commander Hyan-Woo Lee shook his head in disbelief. Sir, how do you mistake a rescue fleet for an invasion? Apparently, the Admiral continued. Our reputation precedes us. The other species see us as Deathworlders and assume we're here to conquer rather than help.
oh
This changes nothing about our mission, but it does complicate things.
oh
We need to be prepared for the possibility that other species might try to interfere. With our rescue operations, Captain Hajin stepped forward. What are your orders, sir? All ships maintain course and speed. Admiral Park's voice was firm and decisive. Emergency protocols remain in effect. We have civilians to save at Kepler Station, and we're not going to let fear and misunderstanding stop us from doing our job. If other species want to run away from us, that's their choice. But we're going to save those people, whether the galaxy likes it or not. Lieutenant Dayun Park, who had been monitoring the long-range sensor array, suddenly looked up from her station with alarm. Her face had gone pale, and her hands were shaking slightly as she rechecked her readings. "Sir," she called out, her voice tight with concern. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures at Kepler Station. The readings are unlike anything in our database. Whatever attacked the station, it's still there. And it's big. Really big." Captain Hajin moved to her station and looked at the sensor data himself. What he saw made his blood run cold. The energy signatures were off the charts, showing something that dwarfed even the largest known starships. And the pattern suggested it wasn't just one thing, it was many things, all working together. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Park," he ordered. "He needs to see this immediately." As the human fleet continued its approach to Kepler Station, they had no idea they were heading toward something far more dangerous than a simple rescue mission. And behind them, Ambassador Rintik was already composing her report to the Galactic Council, trying to find words to describe the impossible Deathworlders who talked about saving lives instead of taking them. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The Kepler station hung in the void like a dying metal flower, its research platforms twisted and torn by forces beyond imagination. What had once been a beautiful symbol of galactic cooperation, with its elegant rings and gleaming laboratories, now looked like something from a nightmare. Massive holes had been punched through its hull, and debris floated in dark clouds around the damaged structure. But it wasn't the damage that made Commander Haiyan Wu Li's blood run cold. It was what was causing that damage. The Ravager swarm moved like a living thing made of metal and death. Thousands upon thousands of mechanical creatures, each the size of a fighter craft, swarmed around the station in perfect coordination. They looked like mechanical spiders crossed with industrial mining equipment, all cutting arms and grinding. Mechanisms designed for one purpose: to tear apart everything they touched and use the materials to build more of themselves. "Mother of God," Commander Lee whispered as his tactical display tried to count the individual Ravagers and gave up, simply displaying the word innumerable in flashing red letters. "There are thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands." Main communication channel crackled to life as Admiral Minho Park's voice reached every ship in the human fleet. Even through the static and interference from the Ravagers' energy fields, his voice came through clear and determined. "All ships, this is Admiral Park. We have 50,000 souls trapped on that station. The manifest shows researchers and support staff from 16 different species: humans, Cephrians, crystalline beings, the insectoid hive minds, even some of the peaceful aquatic delegates. The Ravagers have them completely surrounded, and according to the emergency broadcasts, we're still receiving. Our people are dying." Captain Hajin Kim stood on the bridge of the New Sol, watching the swirling mass of mechanical death that surrounded their target. He felt the familiar calm settling over him, the same feeling he'd had before every major battle of his career. His crew looked to him for orders, and he could see the determination in their eyes. They knew this was going to be hell, but they also knew what had to be done. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Hajin spoke into his communication unit, his voice steady as granite. "Go in," Admiral Park replied without hesitation. "Full assault formation. Battleships form the spearhead and punch a hole through their lines. Cruisers provide covering fire and watch our flanks. Medical ships and transports stay back until we clear a path to the station. No one gets left behind. Not today." Lieutenant Dayun Park's fingers danced across her control panel as she coordinated with the other ships in the fleet. Her screen showed the positions of every human vessel, but it also showed something that made her heart sink. "Sir," she called. "Out," her voice tight with concern. "I'm reading multiple alien fleets on the edge of the system. Zephyrian battle groups, crystalline defense fleets, even some ships I can't identify. They're just ... sitting there. They're maintaining distance and not moving to help." Captain Hajin looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleets. Hovering safely outside the combat zone, ships from a dozen different species, all with the firepower to make a difference in the coming battle. All choosing to watch from a safe distance rather than risk their lives for the people trapped on the station. "Then we do this alone," he said, his voice carrying the weight of years of experience, just like always. The human fleet moved forward like a spear thrust into the heart of darkness. The lead battleships, massive vessels bristling with weapons and armor, charged straight into the Ravager swarm. Plasma cannons and missile launchers lit up space with deadly fireworks as they carved a path through the mechanical horde. The Ravagers responded instantly, their swarm intelligence directing thousands of units to converge on the human ships. They moved like angry wasps, their cutting tools and plasma weapons turning space into a deadly light show. But the humans kept coming, their ships taking damage, but never slowing down. Commander Sujin Choi piloted her rescue vessel, the Busan Hope, through the chaos like she was threading a needle in a hurricane. Her ship was smaller and faster than the battleships designed for rescue operations rather than combat. But right now, it was the most important vessel in the fleet. Medical Bay 2 is at capacity, her chief medical officer reported over the internal communication system. We've got 17 Zephyrian researchers, 12 crystalline scientists, and 8 members of the aquatic delegation. The Zephyrians keep asking why we came for them. Sujin dodged a Ravager attack drone that came screaming past her viewport, its cutting arms reaching for her ship's hull. She pulled up hard and rolled to the left, her skilled piloting keeping them alive by mere meters. "Tell them," came Captain Hajin's voice over the fleet communication channel, somehow managing to sound calm despite the explosions and weapons fire all around them. That's what family does. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Human ships fought with a desperation and determination that amazed the alien observers watching from safe distances. When the battleship Inchin took critical damage to its engines, it didn't retreat, it rammed itself into the largest concentration of Ravagers, its self-destruction taking out hundreds of the mechanical killers. Fighter pilots like Lieutenant Jin Woo-nam flew their small craft into impossible odds, outdrawing Ravager attention away from the rescue ships. When his fighters' weapons ran out of ammunition, he used his ship itself as a weapon, ramming Ravager drones and clearing paths for the transports behind him. "Rescue ship Sold Dawn reporting," came another voice over the communication channel. "We've extracted 43 survivors from Section 7. Mix of species, all injured but alive. The hive mind delegates want to know how they can repay us." "Tell them they already have," Admiral Park's voice replied. "By surviving. By being alive when we got there. That's payment enough." The human fleet fought like beings possessed, taking losses that would have broken any other military force. But they never stopped, never retreated, never left anyone behind. When the medical ships were full, they made room for more. When the weapons ran low, they improvised. When the odds seemed impossible, they found a way. And slowly, impossibly, they began to win. The Ravager swarm, designed to overwhelm through numbers, found itself facing something it had never encountered before. Beings who simply refused to give up, no matter what the cost. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the Deathworlders lived up to their reputation not as conquerors, but as the most stubborn, determined saviors anyone had ever seen. 3 days after the battle, the space around what remained of Kepler Station looked like a massive hospital ward floating in the void. Human medical ships moved slowly between the debris fields, their hulls gleaming white with red crosses painted on their sides. The rescue operation was finally complete. But the aftermath was something no one in the galaxy had expected to see. Ambassador Rintik floated in the observation deck of the UES New Sol, her translucent body now glowing with soft blue patterns that showed wonder instead of fear. Through the massive viewport, she watched something that challenged everything she thought she knew about Deathworlders. Human medical teams were working around the clock, treating injured beings from species they had never even met before. In the main medical bay, Dr. Yoonji Kim had been operating for 36 hours straight without rest. Her patient was a young crystalline researcher named Shalvera, whose family had already held funeral rites for her back on their homeworld. The girl's crystal body had been shattered by Ravager weapons, but Dr. Kim refused to give up. "Hand me the molecular reconstructor," Dr. Kim said to her assistant, her voice tired but determined. "We're going to rebuild her crystal matrix one layer at a time. I don't care if it takes a week." The human medical bay was unlike anything Rinnik had ever seen. Instead of sterile cold treatment rooms, It felt warm and welcoming. Human doctors and nurses moved between patients of all species, furry Kethans, insectoid hivemeans, aquatic Neptunians floating in specialized tanks. Each alien patient was treated with the same careful attention that the humans gave to their own wounded. "I don't understand," Rintik said to Captain Hajen, who stood beside her watching the medical operations. "Your people call you Deathworlders. The galaxy fears you. Stories spread about your violent nature and your endless wars, yet you risked everything to save complete strangers. You lost 8 ships and 400 of your own people to save beings you had never even met." Captain Hajin looked out at the stars through the viewport, his weathered face thoughtful. The past 3 days had aged him, but his eyes still held the same determination that had carried them through the battle. "Ambassador," he said quietly, "living on a death world doesn't make you a monster. It teaches you that life is precious, all life. When death is always watching over your shoulder, when your planet tries to kill you every single day, you learn to protect what matters most." But the stories we hear, Rintik's bioluminescent patterns shifted to confused yellows and greens. The tales of human warriors who never surrender, who fight until their last breath, who show no mercy to their enemies, are completely true. Hajin nodded, a slight smile crossing his face. "We are warriors, Ambassador. Earth made sure of that. But we don't fight because we love violence. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Our planet made us strong, so we could be shields for the weak, swords for the defenseless." The communication system chimed, and Admiral Minho Park's voice filled the observation deck. His voice carried the exhaustion of the past 3 days, but also deep satisfaction. As Admiral Park to all Council vessels and civilian transports. Mission accomplished. All 53,000 civilians have been successfully evacuated and are receiving medical care. The Ravager threat has been eliminated. We are beginning our return to human space. Ambassador Rentik moved quickly to the communication panel, her 3 hearts beating rapidly. "Admiral, wait. Please. The Galactic Council. We would like to formally request a meeting. Perhaps we completely misunderstood what it means to be Deathworlders." There was a pause, and she could hear quiet conversations in the background. When Admiral Park responded, his voice was warm and genuine. "Ambassador, you never needed to fear calling us. We're not monsters hiding in the dark corners of space. Next time someone's in trouble, anywhere in the galaxy, just ask for help. We'll come running, no matter how far or how dangerous." As the human fleet prepared for departure, something remarkable happened. Word of the rescue spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication. The alien fleets that had watched the battle from safe distances were now approaching. Not to fight, but to offer thanks and assistance. The young crystalline researcher Shalvera had made a full recovery thanks to Dr. Kim's tireless work. Before boarding the transport that would take her home, she approached Captain Hajin with her family's translator device. "Captain," her voice came through the translator as delicate chimes, "my people have a saying, strength without compassion is not strength at all, but weakness disguised as power. You have shown us what true strength means." Hajin knelt down to her level, his expression gentle. "Take care of yourself out there, Shalvera. Remember, if you or your people ever need help, we're just a transmission away. That's a promise." As the human fleet formed up for the jump to hyperspace, the galaxy watched with new eyes. The feared Deathworlders weren't the monsters of legend. They were guardians. Protectors who ran toward danger when everyone else ran away. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, Director Velmuth called an emergency session. Representatives from 47 species gathered to witness a historic moment. His tentacles moved with ceremonial precision as he spoke. "Let it be recorded in the permanent archives of galactic history," he announced, his voice carrying across the chamber and broadcast to every world in known space, that humanity, the Deathworlder species, is hereby granted the official status of Galactic Protectorate. They have proven themselves to be guardians of all life, warriors of compassion, and shields against the darkness. May they continue to run toward danger, so that light may prevail throughout the stars. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, A species known for violence was being honored for their mercy. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. Planets that had lived in isolation for centuries opened their borders to human visitors. Species that had never trusted outsiders began sharing their knowledge and resources. Great. Trade routes shut down and panic just days before reopened with human ships providing security escorts. The humans had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten, that sometimes the strongest among us are the ones who choose to protect rather than conquer, to heal rather than harm, to run toward danger rather than away from it. And in the far reaches of space, when distress calls went out into the void, they were no longer met with silence or fear. They were answered by a simple message that brought hope to beings across the galaxy. This is the human rescue fleet. We're on our way. Hold on. The Deathworlders had become the galaxy's guardians, and the universe was a little bit safer because of it. The end.